What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Charlie Hustle, IAC Lifestyle Podcast, back again with another episode. I'm joined here by my man Malo at Tribe Ave Studios. Malo, say what's up to the people.
How we doing, beautiful people?
Today we're gonna switch things up for you, though. Normally I'm the interviewer, and I got somebody that I'm getting to know, asking questions. But we're gonna flip it up today, and I'm on the hot seat, so to speak. And my man Malo is gonna be questioning me about some things.
Absolutely. So first off, I'm a huge fan.
I appreciate you.
I like what you got going on here. How did it get started?
So it's been a long. I don't know if process is the right word, but it's been a long, drawn out thing, right? So as you know, we've had a conversation before. I used to drink heavily, sober now, obviously, but. So back in 2007 is kind of when it all came to fruition. So I was working at this buffet joint, and we had to be there on the weekends at 6 a.m. And so my days off were usually Wednesday, Thursday, or Thursday, Friday. And what we would do is just party. And when I say party, I mean party. Like, we would go hard for the duration of those days and just pull all-nighters. So we're drinking all day Friday, go to work Saturday morning at 6 a.m. on no sleep. Saturday, get off of work around 2, 3, and then just repeat. And that was the thing that we did. So one of our managers came over one night. He's like, I can't stay for long, but I just want to go see, how y'all kick it, what y'all do, this, that, and the third. So he came, and he was like, y'all know y'all got to work. And by this point, it's like 2, 3 in the morning, and he's like, I got a jet, but y'all know that y'all got to work tomorrow, right? He's like, you cannot fucking miss work. And we're like, yeah, we're good. We'll be all right. We'll do what we usually do and just fucking wing it. And he was like, y'all don't sleep? And we're like, we do, or we take power naps, but usually we just push through. And he was like, y'all drink a lot. Y'all are some intense alcohol consumers. And so that's how IAC came about. And so like our little slogan was, we all we got, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of how it got started, and where the name came from was from our manager coming over. And that's kind of like what brought everything together, so to speak.
Yeah. Nah, that's hard. So, all right, we got what it stands for.
We do have what it stands for.
So how has that translated over the years? Is it still intense alcohol consumption?
So it's not anymore, obviously. I'm sober now, so we did away with that. And it didn't change when I got sober. It changed before, because I always knew that in the back of my mind, I wanted to do something with fashion. I'm no fashion guru, but I love things that I love, right? And so I always said I wanted to do something with the IAC name. I don't know what it is, but I also know that if I'm going to somebody to try to pitch this product, hat, shirt, whatever it is, and they ask me what it stands for and what the premise is, and I say it stands for intense alcohol consumers, they're probably gonna look at me like I'm stupid, and be like, nah, man, you good. Go ahead and hit the door. Go back to where you came from. And so it changed over time, and that coupled with my own growth that I was going through as a person, as a man, all these things, I wanted to find something that fit the changes and the description of how I felt and what I was going through. And that's kind of where the name is what it is now. So now it stands for intelligence and confidence, which are two things that I personally have gained over the years. And I feel like describe me more now. And obviously being sober, it's more fitting because I'm no longer an intense alcohol consumer. But I feel like I've gained more intelligence and more confidence overall, but also more specifically in different areas of life.
Now, is this California sober?
I'm sorry?
Is this California sober?
What is that? I'm not sure what that means.
California means you withstain from liquor, but you still partake in other things.
Oh, no, I'm sober across the board.
All the board.
Yeah.
Cool. How long have you been sober?
From drugs, it's been years. And we can go into, a little bit of the background and how that plays into the brand, but drugs has been years. Alcohol will be 5 years in July of next year. So
what was the catalyst for all that?
The drugs, I just knew that I needed to quit. Like, it was one of those things where it's like, I know what it can lead to. I've seen it around my closest family and friends, what it can do to them, right? So that was one thing. The drinking, it was one of those things where I always told myself, like, if you want to quit, you can. But people who understand addiction know that it's not always that easy. And I always tell people too, like, one drink is never enough, but one drink is too many. Because one is going to, just send me down this fucking spiral. So it's going to be too many, but it's never enough, because as somebody who deals with addiction and alcoholism, you can never have just one.
Yeah.
You're always going to want that second, third, fourth. You know what I mean? And so in 2020, I tried many attempts to get sober before, but in 2020, I was working at a fast food joint. I was a GM there. And from a financial standpoint, it was good. They took care of me. They paid for my insurance. I got bonuses. There was, all the perks were there. But they also micromanaged. They try to have me there, 5, 6, 7. I mean, obviously, as the GM, you have to be there often, but they wanted me there,
On call.
Yeah, when they text me, it's like, hey, we need you. And I'm like, no, I don't got time for that. We had access to the cameras and the numbers, like labor and sales and all that stuff on our phones. And so the vice president's messaging me like, hey, we checked the cameras today, or why is labor so high? And I'm like, bro, I'm off today. Like, that's why you have supervisors hit them up. And so it got to a point, take that coupled with just not liking how I looked and liking how I felt. Because when I was working there, it was like, wake up, go to work at 7, eat a bunch of fast food all day, go home, drink, and then fucking repeat. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I hate the way I looked, hate the way I felt. I also didn't want my kids to think that was life. And I tell people all the time, that's not me shitting on drinking. If you can handle it, if you choose to drink it, so be it. That's your choice. But for me, I didn't want my kids thinking that you work 8 to 10 hours a day, go home, drink till you pass out, and that's all there is to life. So those are the reasons why I decided to finally kick it. And I think it took me like 2 tries in 2020. And then one day I told Candace that I can't do this shit no more. Like, I have to quit. So I picked the day. So I'm gonna get blacked out drunk this one last time, and I'm fucking done after that. So sure enough, did that. Woke up, whatever was left over that I hadn't drank, poured it down the sink, and haven't looked back since.
Nice. You know what's funny is I actually did the same with cigarettes.
Okay.
Around the same time.
Okay.
Joe Rogan had an interview.
No, you're good.
Yeah, Joe Rogan had an interview with Elon Musk.
Okay.
And in the interview, they were talking about the pandemic and how everybody was Cloroxing their stuff. And I'm like, I'm over here worried about the coronavirus.
Yeah.
But I'm smoking mad cigarettes.
Yep.
So I'm like, you know what? Let me, same thing.
Yeah.
Made a decision, put the water on it, and then moved on.
Yeah.
Ain't looked back since.
Oh, no, for sure. And it's one of those things where I always found it interesting because while people were, and this is not to shit on anybody else, but people are developing habits, you know what I mean, and all these things that are detrimental to their well-being. But I'm like, I got to shift the focus. I got to do something different from what I've done. You know what I mean? I can't let it get worse because of the situation that we're in, with the pandemic and all that. And so that was kind of the wake up call for me to get out of that.
What were some of the key things during that time frame that helped you stay focused?
Change, and honestly, and as shallow as it may sound, but I hate the way I looked because I was the heaviest I had ever been.
So a little vanity.
And you know what I mean? I tell people all the time, and this will tie into the brand because shortly after that, I got certified to be a personal trainer, which plays into the brand too. But so the way I looked, I didn't like the way that I looked. And I was a student, I'm not going to say I was this great athlete, but I played sports growing up. And so I always wanted to make sure that I took care of myself. And not for other people, but for me, I wanted to make sure that I looked how I wanted to look because whether people want to admit it or not, how you look on the outside is going to play into how you feel about yourself mentally. You know what I mean? And some people will admit it, some people won't. But it's a fact. Like if you look better, then you're going to feel better all the way around. And I'm not saying you got to walk around with a 6-pack, but if you are healthy, I guess, to whatever your standards. Everybody's standards going to be different, right? But I knew what I wanted to look like. I knew how I wanted to feel. And that was kind of like the catalyst. And I knew that if I wanted to continue on that, I had to change the way I ate. I had to change the people that I hung out with because your circle is going to be your biggest influence. And so I knew if I continued to hang around with the same people that were just going out drinking, doing all these things, at some point, even though, yes, I'm trying to get sober, I have, X amount of days, months of sobriety, it can be so easy to fall back down into that rabbit hole. So those were things that kickstarted, and I started reading again and trying to just change my mindset, which is crucial because I started learning more about myself as I'm going through these specific books and setting goals, what I mean, was another huge thing too, because I wasted so much time drinking and loathing and self-pity and all these things. But once you set goals, then your mind shift changes. You're like, okay, cool. Now I have something to actually strive for, and this is what I have to do to get there. So those are all the things that help me maintain it, and those have really been the things to this point that have still helped me maintain it. Also, I hate starting over. So now I'm at 4.5 years, going on 5 years sober, and I'm like, if I have one drink, what the fuck did I do all that for? You know what I mean? Like, it was a fucking waste.
For not.
You know what I mean? So those are all the things that really just continue to help me continue to keep down that path.
It's funny you say who you hang out with. So growing up, I'm Puerto Rican, and
yeah, we had that combo.
And my grandmother would always say, and I'm gonna get real Puerto Rican on them, real quick, a little Spanish. Dígame con quién tú andas, y te digo quién tú eres. And I'm not really great at Spanish, but I remembered that, and it just means tell me who you're hanging out with, and I'll tell you who you are, essentially, right?
Yep.
And so I got that as a kid growing up all the time. Now, when you get older and you become self-sufficient and you have to make decisions for yourself, you realize, you hang around with 9 broke friends, you're gonna be the 10th.
Yep.
So the fact that you made that decision is crucial. That's dope.
No,
now,
for
real quick though, behind the actual
Yes, no, I was gonna say to piggyback off that.
Yeah.
That's what my grandma used to say too.
Yeah.
She would say you are who your friends are.
Yep.
And I would always be like, nah, you're tripping, you know what you're talking about, you know what I mean? But as you said, as you get older, you start to realize I was exactly who my fucking friends were. You know what I mean? I was right there on the front lines with them doing dumb shit, doing dirt, drinking, smoking, you know what I mean? And it's like, fuck. Yeah. You are. I don't care what anybody says, and it could be the other way around too. You know what I mean? We're talking about it from the perspective of drinking and doing those things. But if you're around successful people, those are the people you're making your friends. Then guess what? You're going to be the next successful person. So it works both ways. For me, for so long, it was the negative side of it, and me just not wanting to believe it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
It's almost like what do they call that? Imposter syndrome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You kind of got to get out of your own way.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
saying? Oh yeah.
So with this brand that you have right now, was this the original design, or did you have something initially when you had the other acronym for it?
So when it was the other acronym, we didn't have any design. That was nothing. It was just the name and the slogan that we had. And so actually, what had happened was before we got this design, I'd gotten certified to be a personal trainer, so I got a job at a gym, and I was, doing all those things. And the name of my personal training business was Hustle Hard Fitness, because go by Charlie Hustle. Mm-hmm. And then we were gonna make the IAC brand. We had been looking to get a logo done and get some apparel. We were gonna make it its own entity. And I was talking to my youngest brother out in New York. Shout out Izzy. Shout out Israel. And he was like, his girlfriend does like PR and stuff, and they were like, out of love, drop the Hustle Hard thing, like run with IAC, use your story as the background. People can relate to it. You're going to find people who understand what you went through and what you were going through, and you're going to reach more people that way. So we scrapped the Hustle Hard thing. We got the designer to drop this logo, and in full transparency, and he knows this, I didn't tell him in these words, but I fucking hated this logo when he first showed it to us. So the original logo, we refer to this as the strand, and I'll get into why we call it the strand, but there's letters as well that have IAC, and then it has, so it'll be like the strand, and it has IAC as well on the side. And obviously IAC is intelligence and confidence, right? And so at first I'm like, bro, this is not what I'm looking for. Like, I need you to send me some other letters, like send me some other stuff.
When was this?
This isn't it.
You started doing this?
This is in 2020. So this is when I quit the restaurant job and I was at the gym.
And you're getting sober.
Yeah, and I'm getting sober.
So just a whole full life transition.
Yeah.
This time, right? Yeah,
and at this point it was like, once I made that decision, there was no going back. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to, I had to be all in. So he sends me this logo, and I'm like, bro, this ain't it. Like, I need something else. Like, this just is not it. So I sent him like 30, 40 different fonts, and I said, send me these. And he sends them back, and he's like, bro, this isn't it. Like, he goes, trust me, I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Send it to me on some apparel. Like, send me fucking mock-ups so I can see it on some apparel. So he sent it to me. I think it was a gym bag, a shirt, leggings, and a pair of shorts. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, all right, well, it looks better now that I see it for what it is. Yeah. I was like, but let me sleep on it. And he was like, all right, let me know what you think, and we'll go from there. So a couple days passed, and I'm looking at it again, and I'm like, nah, this shit is dope. Yeah. This shit is dope. So then I asked him, the lettering is what it is, right? It's a different style of lettering, but it's just lettering, right? But I asked him about the strand, and I said, what was the Oh,
Real
go
quick,
ahead.
you've mentioned strand now a few times, and
Yes.
just put me on game real quick because I don't understand what that means.
Oh, I'm getting into it right
Okay,
now
okay,
about
for sure, for sure.
about why we call it the strand. So I asked him like what was the thought behind this specific design, and so initially when he was doing this, he likened it to the spine, even though it runs the opposite direction, because he said that I don't want the clothes to feel like another piece of apparel. I want it to feel like it's a part of their body. He goes essentially, kind of just like to a point where it's comfortable. You don't even know it's there, but you're wearing the IAC brand. And so I took it a step further because I think it resembles more of a DNA strand. And so my thought is that intelligence, confidence is ingrained in our DNA. For me, it was getting past the self-doubts, the alcoholism, the drug addiction, all the bullshit that I was dealing with, the loathing and self-pity, all these things, to recognize my full potential and understand that, nah, man, you have the intelligence and the confidence to make smart fucking decisions, to do what you want to do in life. You just got to get your head out of your ass.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so anytime,
Discipline.
yeah, exactly. And so anytime you hear me say the strand, it's just referring to this right here.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Nice. So, what are the plans going forward? I mean, we've been doing this now for what, 4 years, going on
Yeah.
5. How many mock-ups have you had? How many different designs have you done? How many? Where are we going next? I see you have the State 48 on the side.
yes.
And then you have you showed me another one earlier that actually has the lettering across the front. So what's the next plan? What are we doing?
So we'll go. Let me backtrack a little bit, and we'll go into the beginning and just kind of tell, the story of the dealings that we've had, right?
Yeah.
So when I decided to do this, I didn't have anybody to show me the ropes. We had the design. I found a company to do some. I think we did hoodie and jogger sweatsuits, like the full sweatsuit. And so we ordered I think 50 of them. And then we did a bunch of dad hats. And then we did a bunch of snapbacks. Not this style, like a different style that ended up, now I look back on it, that shit was horrible. It's a horrible design. We had t-shirts. We did stringers, going back to the personal training and the bodybuilding stuff. And couldn't move any of it. That was one of the biggest mistakes that we made, was having all this stuff but not having a need for it or a want for it. And we had we had built a nice little decent cult following back in New Mexico, and so we did have our loyal supporters, right? But we just couldn't move a lot of stuff, and so I still continued to do that and just buy shit and put the logo on it, assuming, hoping, wishing it would sell, right? And nothing's moving. So then I put it on hold because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't continue to try and shove this down people's throats. We have to figure something out. Mm-hmm. So fast forward, I leave the gym, get back into restaurants, and then the restaurant group that I'm working for, I'm like, hey, I want to transfer. I know you guys are opening up some new locations. I'm trying to get out of here and go somewhere else. So Candace wanted to go to San Antonio. I wanted to come back out here to Phoenix. They wanted to send me to fucking Utah.
Oh, this is one of the first conversations we ever had.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
And so you'll remember then when I told dude, I'm like, bro, look at me. I'm not going to fucking Utah. And so he's like, all right, well, figure out where you want to go. I'll see you in 2 weeks and we'll pick a destination. So then finally we all decide on Phoenix, and he's like, I need you there in 6 weeks, whatever the case is. So during that time, we'd put everything on hold. I took the website down because I didn't want to deal with having to deal with purchases, shipping, all that stuff during the transition of a move. And then I'm also, when we got here, I had been traveling to open up restaurants and working 70 plus hours a week. So I didn't necessarily have the time for it. And then once I quit restaurants, then I jumped right back into school and again, put it on hold. And we had a bunch of stuff still in Albuquerque. Had a couple of spots. A buddy of mine had a meal prep company and then a supplement store. So I called another friend of mine and said, yo, go pick up all my shit and we can meet you either out there or, if you come out here, we can meet you halfway to go pick it up, because I want to get it going again. Because then all this while, as I'm in school, I'm still wearing what I have with the brand on it and people are asking me about it. And of course I'm promoting, it's everywhere. It's on my watch. I have fucking all my hats, shirts, you know what I mean? Hoodies. And so people are asking about it. And then as I'm getting back into specific scenes, I'm like, yo, this is going to be perfect because we need it so we can start pushing it to people, doing vendor booths and all those different things. So then we got everything back. and then we, you know, done a couple events, started, you know, getting the name out again, started pushing it and promoting it. And so now we're at a point where this drop, this is the rep your state, you know, where it has the strand on the front, whatever state everybody's from, and then the nickname of the state on the other side, was supposed to be a filler drop because we were planning to do shirts in summer of 2024. And so I get the design for the shirts to the same people who had done the hoodie and jogger sweatsuits that we had. And I sent it to them, and they're like, yeah, cool, we got you. This is the price point. So they end up, you know, I give them the deposit, and then I give them the money to start production on these shirts. And we're going to do 65 shirts because the price point matched that amount of shirts. And so I'm like, just communicate with me throughout the process. Let's see what we can make happen. We'll get it done. So they send me one of the shirts, and I'm like, this is not what I'm looking for. Like, this is what's wrong with the design. And they're like, oh, no, it's not going to look like that. This is just the mock-up. But once it's the final product, it'll be exactly how you want it. So, yeah. So they send me a picture, and they're like, hey, everything's done. And they send me a picture of all the shirts tagged and bagged, like, ready to ship out. Like, we need your final payment. And I'm like, y'all haven't even shown me anything. Like, I don't even know what this shit looks like. So they send me a picture of it. I'm like, yo, this is not it. This is not what we agreed to. This looks exactly like the ones you sent me the first time when you said it wasn't going to look like this.
Yeah.
And so it was literally like a 2-month process going back and forth with them. So I'm like, I'm not giving you guys any more money.
Are they locally based?
No, they're international.
Okay, for sure.
One part of the problem. Reason, yeah. But, you know, I'd worked them before, and that process was smooth. You know what I mean? Everything came out good. So I was like, fuck it, we'll run with them again. So the hats were supposed to be a filler until the shirts dropped. Obviously, we're not going to drop these shirts. So I'm like, we may as well just fucking run with hats because the Rep Your State collection had been doing pretty well since its inception. You know what I mean? So I said, fuck it, we'll just run with the hats until we can figure out something else. So we finally get back on the phone with these cats, and they're like, you know, we can ship out the shirts. And I'm like, but I don't want the shirts. I don't need them. I wouldn't wear it because the design's not what I want. And I would never ask somebody to give me their money for a shirt that I wouldn't even wear. You know what I mean? So we ended up agreeing for them to just send me a bunch of blanks. So I gave them the specs, the sizes, so they're going to send me some blanks. So now we can prepare for the next shirt drop. But I can at least manage the printing, you know, that part of the process. So we're still doing the Rep Your State collection. Obviously, I'm wearing that one now. And then we have these ones, which is what I refer to as like the OG, because it just has the strand. So this will be a staple where it's just the strand on the front. And then we just added the other IAC,
I like that.
The other logo in the back here. And then we have the other design that we're doing where we have intelligent spelled out on the front and confident spelled out on the front, but we took the strand and moved it to the side as well.
Can we put that one on camera?
Of course. Candace, will you grab that one for me, please? And so those are the 3 hat designs we're going to run with. One, because the Rep Shade is done well, like I said. And the other 2, I think the OG one, everybody has their own OG collection, right? Like whatever original logo, whatever was the first thing that they did that's just stood the test of time. And that one has the same thing there, yeah. So that one's going to stay. And then this one, I've always wanted to do it just because I felt like we could find a nice lettering or a nice design that fit, then it would be perfect. So you can show off that one if you want. So I've got the confidence here with the strand on the side.
Yeah, this is a good feel too.
And then obviously the intelligence, we can crack that one open up and show them the full thing there. The camo on the side. And then these aren't the only colorways that we have, right? Like this one's done in camo. This one's forest green. This one's like a light tan. And then this one's denim blue. But we have a stupid amount of like colorways. We've got Dodgers blue and white, Dodgers blue and cream. We got red and cream. We got khaki and black. We got the cream and black. I've got khaki and black, all red. Like the amount of hats that the print shop I'm working with for these, because that's what they do is they do fucking embroidery and they do hats and they just have a crazy amount. So essentially whatever color, we got gray and navy. So you know, we could do like some Yankees theme, and that's kind of what I try to base it as too. Is like I had a buddy in LA get one of the white and blue for the Dodgers. Yeah, you know what I mean. So whatever people like, we have a colorway to fit it, and then whatever they want to do as far as like the state, we can throw it on there as well. So those are the 3 hats that we're going to be working with. And then again, we're waiting on samples now for the shirts. But we have a product development manager now. So this gentleman, in the 2 weeks that we've been speaking, has been clutch already because he helps us source the product from trusted vendors because he's been doing it for so long. He's helped 2 other brands build up theirs and find all their products. So he knows his shit. So he's working on getting us some chains and pendants. So we're going to do some IAC ones. So it'll be a chain just like this, but it'll have the strand as the pendant. He's sourcing some other shirts for us as well. So we'll have the sample from the vendor that I dealt with and the samples that he's getting us and kind of like test the 2 from there. But then we've got other plans to continue on and get different styles of shirts. And, you know, as we continue to grow and build, he'll kind of lead the way on what we should do next, and he'll be able to source it and find it for us.
That's beautiful. What steps have you been taking, like when it comes to, because you said you came out here, how long you been in Arizona now?
This
last go about
2.5 years.
2.5 years?
Yeah, more recently.
So since you came back and you put the brand to the side for a second while you were figuring out the restaurant gig and you know, personal training and going back and forth, and then you relaunched, right? What have you been doing from that moment till now as far as marketing, promoting, networking with locals out here in order to get the brand to where it needs to be, at least in Arizona?
No, for sure. Great question. So not being from here, it's always tricky when you're a newbie, right? Or a transplant, as they call them. So when I was in audio engineering school, and we had this conversation. We both went to Crass. I was first tapping into the music scene. So trying to find communities, trying to find people who are in the music scene, and just build a relationship with them, and kind of go from there. So obviously a big community out here is the AZ Hip Hop Fest, just as the, Respect the Underground. So he was one of the first people that showed us some love in regard to the brand. So I performed last year in December 2023, and then we also had the vendor booth. And he showed us a bunch of love and complimented the brand and all that good stuff. And so he's been a really huge supporter of it there. And that just led me, having the booth there and performing helped, because then I'm on stage wearing all the stuff. The booth is right by the stage, and then people correlate the two, you know what I mean? And so so we were able to make some connections there. And then on social media, again, building relationships with people via social media, but then being able to post about the brand and lead them to the brand's page has also been crucial. And I'm no social media marketing guru, right? Like, I just wiped the page clean because we're starting over fresh for 2025. But when people hear about what the brand stands for and understand the premise behind it, that makes it more relatable, because at the end of the day, I'm a human. I dealt with addiction. I dealt with shit in my life. I overcame it. So can you. You know what I mean? And people, I think people respect that more when they hear it firsthand from somebody who had to deal with it, because it opens their eyes in a different way, I guess. And so I think that's what's kind of drawn people to it. You know what I mean? Understanding what's behind it. And I'm not the type to take shots at anybody or anything like that, but anybody can put a fucking logo on a t-shirt, right? Yeah. But why should I invest? What separates you from the next person that has their logo on a t-shirt, right? Like, what's the story? What have you done? Why should I invest my time and my money and my emotions into your brand? You know what I mean? I think that's what is one thing that separates us, is that we have that story. It's real, it's raw. I tell people all the time about, my cocaine addiction and being a convicted felon for trafficking cocaine, my alcoholism, all that stuff, because one, it made me who I am today, and two, that's how the fucking brand was built. You know what I mean? Like, I'm using my story of overcoming all that, and there's people who have been through worse. I never discount that, but for me, this is my story. Yeah. I'm telling it, and most people are gonna be able to relate to it in some way, shape, or form. And so I think once people start to get the word out and understand what the brand is about, then that helps draw them in and kind of relate to it more. And even if they haven't dealt with addiction or anything. Like, I have a business mentor, and he's never.
Everybody deals with addiction.
Of some sort, right?
Some sort, yeah.
But this gentleman's like, he can't relate to the portion of being convicted felon and being addicted to cocaine, but he's had his own trials and tribulations, and he's like, I respect it because you're open about it and you've overcome shit, and now you're trying to get better. You know what I mean? Yep. And so even if you haven't been through what I've been through or anything like that, you can still relate to it because you see a man who is trying to change, and that's what it's about, is growth and change. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if you put yourself in a situation or if life said, this is your deck of cards, figure it out. How you figure it out and move past it and overcome it is the key, and that's what we like to tell people. Like that's most important. You know, I don't give a shit what happened to you 10 years ago. Like, how did you bounce back and overcome it, or did you loathe in self-pity like I did at one point and let it take you over?
Yeah. So, and everybody has their journey, so to speak. So
of course,
same to you. We've all had those moments where we play victim.
Yep.
Whether it be a lack of information, ignorance, just not knowing, not having the guidance, the resources available to be able to, push you in the right direction.
Of course.
But it's getting through that and not letting it hold you back. That's really the key to the testament there. So
no, for sure. I appreciate that. No, I really do. And I think, again, and I tell people all the time, like, there's people who've been through much worse than me, but if I can find a handful of people who understand my situation to be like, and can say, damn, I was in that exact same position. Because when I talk about, that I dealt with alcoholism, I'm talking like when we were in high school, started drinking when I was 14. So my sophomore, junior year in high school, and I'm not bragging about this, but the reality of it is that we had a specific group of friends that would always drink together, and we would break up our group into separate groups of friends and see who could drink the most during a period of time. And this is during high school. So
like class?
No, just in general. Oh, okay. Like, so if it's me, you, if it's me, you, and this guy versus this guy, and this guy, we're going to see who can drink the most. Just how many days in a row can you drink before you fucking give up? Yeah. You know what I mean? And so that's the type of addiction that I dealt with. And then it would, I'd drink to just black out. That, you know what I mean? And so to be able to come from that place to where I'm at now, that's why I tell people, like, when I talk about my addiction, it was fucking bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but something in the back of my mind, I've always had people, your conscience, whatever you want to call it, but I always knew that I had to change things at some point, right? Like, even when I was selling dope, excuse me, I always knew, like, this isn't what you want to do. Why are you doing this? Like, the consequences.
Yeah. Survival, though.
Why are you fucking doing it? And not even so much that, 'cause I didn't really have to do it. You know what I mean? Like, so my dad passed away when we were 15, and it was, I was getting Social Security checks. And so I would just take that money,
flip it,
and use it to buy it, and then and flip it. So I didn't necessarily have to do that as survival. You know what I mean? But it was one of those things where it's like, I knew in the back of my mind, like, all this shit you're doing, you don't have to do. Whether it be because my subconscious was saying there's something better for you in the future, or, whatever the case may have been. But I always knew in the back of my mind that something had to fucking shift. But to your original question about what we're doing now for marketing and stuff, and now it's just, we've done some other events. We did the rap arena, I think back in October, the Bel Air freestyle tournament. We had a booth there. That's right. Yeah, we had a booth set up there. So got to network and mingle, and just, reaching out to people and seeing what we can work out, you know what I mean? And get some merch on them and go that route, and I always tell people, like, the more people I have wearing my shit, the more eyes are on us, you know what I mean? And I think that's how you really have to get it. At the end of the day, I think social media is going to be huge, right? But I'll say this, followers don't equate to anything. It doesn't matter how many followers a person has, because you can buy followers, you can buy likes. At the end of the day, word of the mouth and you getting out there foot to fucking ground, you know what I mean, is going to be the best way to get your shit out there. So we just went to a couple gyms here in town and dropped off a bunch of apparel to some staff and said, hey, if your members want some, here's the fucking tub of apparel. And it's just old stuff that we've had that we can't move, that we just decided to give away as we prepare for what we have coming up in 2025. Yeah. So, and I think that's respectable too, right? Is, going out there and fucking putting in the work and going and saying, hey, I got a tub of shit. Do you want some? You know what I mean? If you don't, you don't. Cool, I'll take it to the next place.
Yeah. I saw something the other day where it said, it named off like 4 or 5 different businesses, and they started as one thing, and by the time we heard of them, they were something completely different, right? Being that this is lifestyle, right? And you can always brand and create fashion for any business that you do, essentially. The bigger goal of this, reaching out to people, touching people, like, helping out in that way. What does that look like for you guys?
So essentially, we started off as an activewear brand. We were just going to do activewear. Back to my personal training background, that was the goal. But as Candace and I started, looking at things from a different perspective.
Candace?
Wifey.
Gotcha. Gotta give it the proper,
Of course, no, of course. We didn't want to, and everybody says pick a niche, right? Like, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But if I don't have to, why would I, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just a personal trainer. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I can play sports, artist, engineer, like all these different things that I can do. I don't want to just put myself in a box and say we're only going to market to people who go to the gym. Mm-hmm. Because I want everybody to be, and we tell everybody welcome to the family when they buy apparel. We say welcome to the family. I want everybody to feel like they're a part of the family, because I've been through all kinds of shit in my life, and I want people who have also been through all kinds of shit to feel like they're included in this too, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'll always encourage people to go to the gym, to eat better, to stay healthy. But I also want the person who just goes 2 or 3 days a week, isn't, on it like I'm on it, to be able to get some IAC apparel, or, a hip hop artist to be able to get some stuff and feel comfortable in it, or, whomever it may be. So I don't want to put myself in a box. And I think just given what the brand is about, everybody can relate in some way, shape, or form. Everybody should be able to wear it. And so I think taking ourselves out of that box has been fruitful too, because then we're able to tap into, we just did the fitness expo earlier this year that they put on at the convention center, right? And then we go do a fucking vendor booth at a hip hop fest, right? And we can touch both markets, and we don't look weird, or we don't look out of place, or we don't look different, because what we're building, what we stand for, the apparel that we have, the merch that we have, can be utilized in both of those settings. You can put on some of the shirts that we're going to be doing and go to the gym and wear it as what they call a pump cover, right? Or you can wear it when you're taking the kids out to go have fucking dinner. You can take it when you're going, you can wear it when you're going to the grocery store. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You can wear the apparel in any setting. And just, again, going back to being able to relate to people, I think that's the biggest thing, is that at the end of the day, we're creating products that people will just love and be able to relate to and say, okay, this looks cool. I want to support this. I can wear this in whatever the fuck I'm doing.
The reason why I said that, or I asked that, was because I remember initially when I saw you rocking the brand, I knew you already did music. I knew that was the background. But the brand doesn't scream music.
Correct.
What's funny enough is the brand kind of screams finance. You know what I'm saying? Like it just like you can literally take this to the finance world, to the mental health world. Like, there's different lifestyles, just trying to become great.
Of course.
Just that whole thing to be great in any aspect. It's like that can kind of lend itself to it.
Yeah.
So I like that it's not specific to one thing, so you can kind of utilize it for anything, really.
Of course. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And it's interesting you say that too, because obviously I did the engineering thing, and I am an artist. So we have the IAC Sounds, which is another entity, which is more of like the audio, the music, the podcast
IAC
stuff.
Finance.
So we have IAC Sounds. And so what the designer did, it was the dude who made this logo. He took it and added what would be sound waves to it.
Nice.
So when you see it, you still see the strand, and so it's recognizable, right?
Yeah.
And then so Candace does makeup and nails, so she has her business, which is IAC Beauty, and same thing. We took the strand, we flipped it so it runs up and down, but it's still recognizable, because once you see this and you go see it anywhere else, you're gonna be like, oh shit, that's that IAC thing, and that's what we were going for. That's why we didn't want to create any different logos for anything else we have going on, because when you see the swoosh, you don't have to. It doesn't have to say Nike on it. When you see the swoosh, you know who it is. 3 stripes. It ain't got to say Adidas on the apparel. You see 3 stripes, you know who it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we wanted it to be like that. Not that we're at that level yet, but we want it to be so recognizable that when you see the strand in any fashion, you say, okay, that's IAC. I know it without even having it to say IAC. You know what it is. The
few hats that I told you earlier that not resemble, but like, because realistically, man, hats don't. It's not the whole shebang. Like, but there are certain hats like the paper planes from Jay-Z, the locks. That there's certain hats that just the Yankee fitted, obviously, Dodger cap. Like, there's certain hats that it's like, no, that's, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, those
that has that feel.
These have that
feel. I don't know if it's the cut. I don't know if it's the style of snapback that you got, but the whole look to it with the logo, it has that kind of like stamp of approval type of a logo. So
no, for sure,
it's dope.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And again, you know, that's the thing that we wanted was for people to see it, and be like, okay, I know exactly what that is. And it's about being recognizable, right? So, you know, like you said, the paper planes, the locks, the Dodgers, the Yankees, those are all stables and recognizable. You know, okay, when and they don't even have to say the word, you know, Yankees or anything. Blue fitted. When somebody says something about a blue fitted, you're going to know it's the Yankees. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like when you see the Rep Your State one that we have, that my homeboy bought for LA, it's blue and cream. So I already know why he bought it. You know what I mean? Because he's in LA, so it's for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So being recognizable in that regard is what we were going for as well, which is why we really pushed the strand. Because the letters is cool, but I think the strand just stands out more and just has more of a strong, powerful look, so to speak.
Yeah, no, definitely. When I was doing my brand thing, the little logo in the middle, I had the whole design without that for a year and a half.
No
2
way,
years.
okay.
And then one day I'm looking at same thing, McDonald's, Nike, and they're like, everybody has an icon figure that is recognizable without the letters.
Yeah.
And so the same thing with you. I'm like, I gotta add a little something. So yeah, no, man, that makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense.
No, for sure. And you know, that's the thing is like you have to, and because when we were going through the relaunch, we considered a rebrand, changing the logo, and we thought, no, we got to leave it. Like we'll tweak specific things, but you can't change the logo because then you change everything else when you change that. You know what I mean? And so we thought we'll leave the logo, leave the name as it is, and just work around changing some other things, but leave those two things as they are.
Now, along this process of getting to where you're at today, what like trials and tribulations or learning curves did you have to go through when it came to, like you said earlier, you know, you were dealing with somebody that's national, so you had the shirts that were all messed up. Yep. So like what other learning curves, especially with the hats, when developing the logo, you know, getting that first batch of who knows, shitty hats, you know, where you got to get to the point where you have this.
No, for sure. And again, you know, back to one of the first things that we did that we, you know, learned not to do again was to buy a bunch of shit in bulk, a bunch of product, because if you don't have a need or a want for it, then you can't move it. And we're doing what we're doing now which is giving away, you know, some of the older product for free. And it is what it is, right? It's part of the business you learn. So not only not having had anybody to mentor me or any knowledge before diving in, essentially it was all trial and error all the way up until this year. A gentleman that I met has his own brand, and he used to model for Nike as well. So I was fortunate to be able to cross paths with him. And so he, you know, hopped on a couple calls with me, and he gave me the rundown, and he was full transparency. He's like, I made the same fucking mistakes you did. He goes, it's just a part of it when you don't know, you know what I mean? And so he kind of showed me the ropes, gave me some tips and tricks on how to move product, how to spark people's interest and make decisions on what to run with and what not to run with. And then gave me some insight on, you know, what to look for when looking for product specifically. So that was huge in getting the hats done. And then it came time to find some way to print the hats. And so normally what I'll do is I'll just post on Instagram like, hey, can somebody plug me in with X, Y, and Z? And so I was looking for somebody to do embroidery. One of my homeboys that lived out here for years actually hit me up and referred me to the people that do it now. and so they do an amazing job. Like
Shout out.
Yeah. So Iconic Stitching out in Scottsdale does all the embroidery for our hats. And every time I go in there, I'm just blown away by the quality because it's all fire. You know, and the selection of hats that they have is fuck, it'll make your head spin.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And so good people. So Iconic Stitching, if you're looking for an embroider, they do all of our stuff. And then, you know, just understanding that you're going to take losses, like the money we lost on the shirts, you know what I mean? It was one of those things where normally I'd be like, well, fuck, man, we got to get this resolved ASAP. Like, let me get on the phone with them. And the part of me was just like, man, it's part of the business. They're international. I can't do anything anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're on the other side of the fucking world. So what difference does it make?
Cry for spilled milk.
Exactly. So it was like, take the L, learn from it, and then just go back to square one. So the gentleman who gave me the insight on the hats also hooked me up with the product development guy. So now he's going to be sourcing out all of our products through some vendors that he's worked with for years, trusted. He goes to them for another brand that he's helping build for all their products. So it's been a long process, and you know, buying a bunch of shit we don't need, getting dealt with shitty vendors, losing money, and now just trying to figure out the social media marketing part of it. So that's another thing that we're learning now, because the page was all over the place for a little bit. But we've got somebody that's helping us now. So the page is wiped clean. There's one post that says under construction.
I saw that.
Yeah. And so we got a video and a photographer guy here that's going to help us with some content. And then we've got a team out in LA that's also going to help with some content for when we take trips out there. We're going to send them some stuff to get some content on their own for us out there. Obviously, we've got a spot here, you know, to do all of this stuff out of now. So everything, photo shoots, video shoots, everything looks cleaner, you know, having a place to do it out of. So those are some of the things that, you know, we learned. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm extremely frugal. Like, I do not like to spend money. And even with the business, there's things where I'm like, I'd rather figure this out on my own. And then going through all this year, I realized, like, at some point you got to bite the fucking bullet, and you have to find somebody who can do what you can't. Let them take that off your plate so you can focus on other things. Because with the podcast and then with the apparel, there's been things where it didn't look right, it didn't look clean, it just didn't look good. And if it's an eyesore, it's going to turn people away. And so, and you and I had the conversation about the podcast, you know what I mean? And that's why we're here now, because you reached out and said, hey, look, let's get this right, you know what I mean? And I had a few other people too that reached out and said, hey, we think we can help you in these areas. Let's, you know, talk about some things and get it figured out. And normally the old me would have been like, nah, I got it all figured out on my own. But now I'm like,
that's growth.
I'm not a fucking videographer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to do that. I needed a spot to come do everything out of. I can't continue doing everything out of my fucking house. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to make those decisions at some point, spend the money, and the return on investment might not come immediately. But when you look back and you think long term, then it'll be worth it. So it's like, now I don't mind shelling out the money for these extra resources or people who know what they're doing that can help me present a better product, you know, whether it be the apparel, the podcast, whatever it might be. At the end of the day, I'm doing all this for them, you know, and if I wanted to keep my audience and retain them, I had to make sure that everything I'm doing is on point, or they're all going to go elsewhere. Yeah. So
I, like you, am a new small business owner. And so, you know, having to go through all of those things where, you know, making sure everything's tidied up. Yep. All the ends, there's no loose ends. You cross your T's, dot your I's, just to make sure that the product comes out correctly. Yep. One thing I have learned too, in this time, is just like you were saying, when you take some things off of your plate, it gives you a bit of mental clarity in the things that you have left on the plate to really focus, hone in, and execute at a different level. And sometimes it seems like we're taking a step back by investing and dishing out money. But in the long run, the mental clarity that we get by not having to have so much on our plate and having other people who are better at those things. Exactly. Because it's our baby at the end of the day. It's our baby that we're letting somebody else hold. And so it's hard to trust somebody else with what we have in our brain that we've created for the brand.
So true. Yep.
And so to try to insert what we have in our brain into somebody else's brain and hope that they deliver how we know we would deliver for ourselves, that's hard.
Yep.
So and that's one of the biggest hurdles I've had to overcome this year too, is like, I know I could be a jack of all trades, master of none if I wanted to.
Exactly.
But what is that going to get me at the end of the day? It's only going to get it's short-sighted.
Exactly.
So we've already had this discussion, and I'm thankful that you're over here. I'm thankful that you're here, allowing and growing as a business to allow people to help out. And as a unit, we get everybody where we're trying to go.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing too, is like making sure you have the right people in the right places, because in talking to Candace too, like earlier, we were doing a photo shoot. Shout out Merkham's. We were doing a photo shoot with Merkham's, and the product development guy emailed me about the shirts and some other samples. And he's like, everything's already set up. I'm just waiting for X, Y, and Z, and then I'll get with you to confirm, and then they'll get them started. Cool. I don't have to worry about that portion, because the process of trying to find these trusted vendors and then deal with them back and forth to get samples, to get this done, he's taking care of it, and all he does is tell me what I owe, and then gives me, okay, cool, this is the date you'll have it. Fucking easy, you know what I mean? And same thing coming here, having a spot to do what we got to do out of. Now I don't have to worry about trying to find a spot. Is the spot going to meet the standards that I want it to? All these other things that I have to worry about. So being able to trust people and understand that what you're doing in this regard. I might know a little bit, but I don't know as much as you do, so I'm going to trust you to get the product like how I want. I'm going to tell you what I want, and then you knock it out for me, you know what I mean? And whatever area it might be, whether it be social media marketing, whether it be designing something, whether it be getting me samples, recording the podcast and editing it, whatever it is, you have to trust that person knows what they're doing. And then if not, have the conversation. But I think being able to accept those conversations, like, bro, let me help you make this look better. Like, I like you. I like what you're doing. Let me help you.
Taking the ego out.
Yes.
Taking the ego out. Yep.
Because if I would continue doing it, my audience is going to continue to just fall by the wayside. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I had to understand that and say, okay, I don't want to, because I'm frugal, not because I don't trust, right? But because I'm frugal, I don't like to spend money. I don't want to do this, but I know that it's better for me, the business, and the audience, the consumer I'm trying to reach. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, it hasn't been a hard lesson, because I know what I'm capable of. Like you said, I could do it all myself, but it's not going to be what I want it to be for the consumer. So you got to take a step back, take your ego out of it, like you said, and then focus on, okay, this is what I need to focus on now, because this guy's doing this for me, this guy's doing this for me, this guy's doing this for me. So this is all I need to focus on for now. And if I can find somebody to take this on, cool, then I'm going to trust that person to do it. But as long as I focus on this, and I know everything else is taken care of because I trust these people, I've seen that they know what they're doing, then cool, I'm going to let it ride out, and we'll continue to build and grow. And I think that's part of it too, is that, and I tell people this all the time too, like networking with people and building relationships, that's what it comes down to, is building relationships. I stress that more than anything. I can tell you how much free shit I give away, because I'm like, I'd rather build a relationship, the trust. It doesn't always have to be transactional, right? In cases it does, right? But there's sometimes where it's like, you know what? There's a mutual respect. Take this fucking hat, take this shirt, take whatever. Or I won't charge you for this, or I'll give you a discount, whatever the case is. But also then people need to look at it as, now I'm tapping into your audience and vice versa. Because I don't know all the same people and vice versa, right? You might have more reach than I do. And not you specifically, but generally speaking, right? Yeah. But then you're getting more eyes on you.
Cross-pollination.
Exactly. And I think that's the part that people don't want to accept, is that it's not a competition. There's other brands that I've talked to and I've worked with, and it's not a competition, because I want you to win too, but also there's more value in us working together than if we all tried to do it separate. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think people, once they understand that portion of it and see it as a collaboration and not a competition, and there's enough to eat for everybody, you know what I mean? Like, there, I do all the time. There is so much for everybody to fucking eat. Like, you don't have to be that person.
That goes for any industry.
And exactly. Yeah. And so I think once people understand that portion, then you start to be more successful. But I think if you see things from, just one point of view, then that's what's going to be an issue.
It's like, when you hear people go play in the NBA, they're like, man, the game is so fast. It's faster than it was. Well, once the game slows down for you, and this is the same thing with business and entrepreneurship, once the game of whatever it is you're doing slows down a bit, and you can kind of see the plays coming, you can kind of see what's happening, I've been around the block before.
Exactly.
With experience, you start to make better decisions. And if you don't quit, then you can make it.
Exactly.
If you don't quit.
Exactly.
But that's the hard part, because a lot of people get to a point where life happens, children, family, whatever, and they just can't continue.
Of course.
But just, never giving up on yourself, never giving up on the dream. Obviously, you've been doing it now for years. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, though, what do you have in store for 2025?
So obviously, the podcast is getting a makeover starting here. We're locked in together, so we'll have video shoots, photo shoots.
Shameless plug, Tribe Ave Studios.
Shout out my guy Malo. But it's one of those things too where it's like we built a relationship before, right? So I've been to your spot plenty of times. We spoke plenty of times outside of this setting. So the relationship was there. So it only made sense to say, hey, let's work something out to utilize your spot as the spot where we're going to do the podcast, the video shoots, the photo shoots, all these things, right? And then again, collaboration, back to that, right? So now we have this designated spot that we can work out of, and I don't have to stress about that because all I got to do is say, hey, book me for this slot this times, and we're set. So the podcast is getting the makeover. Obviously now, again, like I said, we've got the product development guys, so the apparel is getting the makeover, and now we're going to have quality product. Not that our products are bad, but the guy knows his shit, so he knows what he's doing there. The designs are going to be a lot different. So we used to, like on a lot of the shirts and hoodies, it would just be like the strand, or we'd have like the full logo of the IAC with the strand on it. So now we're going to move into a different style of design. Still utilizing, obviously, the IAC logos, the strand, all that stuff. But I won't go too much into detail to give it away. But they're going to be a lot more thought out, and they're going to be able to, from a word standpoint, be able to resonate with people just based off of what the shirts are going to say, and how the design is going to be, intricated with the logos and stuff too.
You keep saying strand, and it's striking me. I feel like there's something there, like a offshoot of what you're doing, that a whole nother design that's like part of this, but it's called the strand.
No, it's just this one.
No, I know. I'm saying, but you've used IAC. So I'm saying like the strand for like a season.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I see what you're saying.
There's something there with that. I don't know. You said it so many times that it's you got to capitalize on that
for sure. Yeah. And then obviously social media, we wiped the IG page, so that's getting a makeover too. We're going to be more intentional about the content that we post, the quality of content that we post. I heard a quote one day. A gentleman said to go through your phone and look through your contacts and see who can help you get to the next level in any way, shape, or form, right? And kind of like do an audit. And so I went through my phone and I reached out to some people. Obviously, you being one of them, right? But I looked at what other areas I could use some help in, and so we've got people that are even out of state that are on board to help us with some content stuff and to get some product and promote for us out there. So we're definitely moving forward in that regard too. And then just more drops. We plan to. I'm hoping to have the first batch of samples for our teas by January 2025. So I'm hoping by February we can get the actual drop done. And then every quarter try and drop something, and whether it be a shirt or, really anything. Like we have the chains and pendants. Those will probably be like a summertime drop, just because the process is a bit longer for them. But I mean, we consider doing socks or slides. I've got a plug for those too. So, depending on what we're doing at the time we're doing it and if it makes sense, right? And we, might drop the shirts and then do a surprise drop on socks. You know what I mean? Because socks are such a small thing, but who doesn't love a good pair of socks? You know what I mean? So, but I think 2025 is going to be key for us because we've learned the lessons in 2024. There's always going to be lessons to learn no matter what season, year, or how long you've been in business, right? But I think that being able to get to where we're at now and connect with the people that we're connecting and have these people on our team has already put us in the right direction because they've taken things off of my plate, Candace's plate, that now we can focus on, okay, what's the next plan for growth for, this quarter of the year or for this, because then it's as simple as calling up this person saying, hey, this is the plan. Hey, this is the plan. Let's get it on paper and then let's execute. You know what I mean?
Clear vision, execution.
And so 2025 I think is going to be a good year of growth for us. We haven't really been all in on the brand. I'll say that one because again, I'm frugal, so I didn't like to spend the money on certain things.
That makes sense too.
Yeah, of course, but I think to reach the next level of growth, you kind of have to. You have to risk. Doing that portion of it.
No risk and no biscuit.
That's right. And that's why when we took the L for the shirts, I wasn't too disappointed because it was part of the business. You know what I mean? And you lose money.
Yeah.
You make money. It is part of it. So I think now spending the money that we need to put the people in the places that they're in is only going to help us grow. And so that's the plan for 2025 is to actually lock in and really start to grow and get the brand out as much as possible.
Now, I know we plan on doing a part 2 of this. So we're going to come back and dive a little bit deeper into what's going on because you're more complex than just IAC Lifestyle. There's more to you. We didn't tap into the musical side of what you got going on too much. We didn't, you have a few other things going on as well that we'll discuss in part 2
for sure.
But man, it was a pleasure, bro. I'm glad to have you in here. I appreciate it. Definitely. I'm glad to get a little
the pleasure is mine.
The background story on what's going on with IAC Lifestyle. And I can't wait to see where it goes in 2025.
I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, bro. Make sure y'all tap in with my guy Malo, Tribe Ave Studios. Quality spot, quality dude here. IAC Lifestyle is where you find us on Instagram at IAC_lifestyle. The website is www.iacactivelife with a Y, so LYFE.com. IAC_beauty for wifey's nail and makeup. And IAC Sounds will be for podcast and anything music, audio engineering on that page as well.
Yeah. Y'all go in, tap in and cop one of these, man. These is hard. This is me right here, right?
Yes, that is you.
Hey, I like it. Man, stay blessed, y'all.
Peace.